We are a completely different company than what once we were, Commvault or One Vault or anything to that degree. We have changed completely into a new company. Flexential came together from Peak 10. Some of you know Peak 10. Remember Peak 10? And then the Via West side of the company. Two very similar companies. One on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, right? Data centers in respective regions. They did a very good job independently. Worked very similarly. The CEOs were friends. They communicated with each other. They even talked about how each one runs their respective businesses. And I called it dating. They were like dating each other. Just no one wanted to ask the question. And eventually what happened was that they merged into being one company, and they became Peak 10 Via West. Peak 10 purchased Via West and turned into what it is today, a national footprint, a pretty large national company. The name Flexential, from Nate's point, it came from a Gallup with a marketing company asking about what they liked about Via West and what they liked about Peak 10. So they grabbed both sets of customers, put them in a room, and said, what do you like about Peak 10 and what do you like about Via West? So the consistent answer they were getting back is they were flexible to work with. They were essential to their business, right? So that kept on coming back. So marketing put the words together and Flexential was born because of the flexibility and the essential part of being a part of their business. So they couldn't work without us. We were flexible enough to help them, even when the onboarding or even if they have to leave, we'll help them out. We're okay with it. We know, customers there is churn. So that's where the name came from. It was from our flexibility and our essential part of companies' businesses. We are a totally different company now today. I think this is the first year we're a platinum partner with you guys, right? Correct. Yeah. So that's a change for us. Before we weren't, we just were local, just in South Florida in the market, but now with that, we are a larger company, and I'll get into that when we go into the deck. But we are nationwide, 41 data centers with presence in 22 major markets, and that footprint is bigger than most providers out there. I'm proud to say that we are the 6th largest data center company out in the market right now. We're the 2nd largest privately owned company in the marketplace. And we're only behind when you look at the top 6 data center providers. If you look at that and take away your typical Equinix, obviously that's another animal in itself, but then you look from there on, they're all real estate companies. They're not in the retail business that you guys are in. So that's where we fall into that next level. Our revenues, just to look at it, if you looked at it from some of the public companies out there that are in this space, and some of them that are a part of the TCG group, their revenues are somewhere in the $375 million per year from last year, from the data we found. Flexential's revenue for last year was $500 million, and we're privately held. So we are larger than a lot of the people that out there, and the publicly traded, there's a couple of them, QTS to your point. We are relatively larger than them. People just don't know about it, and they don't know what we can offer. And the point of that is that I want to let you guys know that we're more than just a data center company now. I'm going to harp a lot on talking about cloud. I think we all, in your presentations prior to it, talked about cloud, and it's great, but also what we can do to help you with your customers getting to the cloud. The market's changed completely now, where it's not just, I know a lot of, they're colo, I just walk away from it. No. There is money to be made in cloud and disaster recovery, which is a good point on their TCG's little banner there, and I'm going to talk about that today. So there is money to be made, and there's money to be made with current customers. A lot of times you guys might walk away, they already did colo with Peak 10 or now Flexential, and they already can't make any money. No, it's not true. If you bring a deal that they're great, they're doing colo, but they add services, if they're going to add another cage or a cabinet, or they're going to look at cloud or disaster recovery, you can get that. You can register that deal and make monthly recurring revenue off that. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your customers and they're not going to move anything. That's great. But if they add services, that goes to your pocket. Even if you're not the agent or the VAR on file, if you bring a new deal, an existing customer, you will get that recurring revenue on that. So keep that in mind. All right. To start off, we talked about a lot about partners and vendors, and we Flexential, we like to look at it when we partner with you guys. We've made an effort to try to be more involved in what you guys do. So one of the guys that we talked about says, just scratch out vendor. We're just a partner with you guys. Think of us that way. So starting here, we talked about this. We're strength together. We're known for our data center services, but we can do cloud. We can do data protection. We can do disaster recovery. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later on what your perception of disaster recovery and storage is, because I think that that's a convoluted area, and you need to be, I want you guys to be well versed and be able to answer those questions because I think it's the same. Some people think it's the same, but it's really not. Cool? Your local team, this is me, obviously I'm in the middle, and then my SE, and then Matt Sanders. A lot of you guys might know Matt Sanders. He's the regional channel manager for us. He's got a beard now, so I apologize, that's an old picture. But we're your local presence for you guys, and you can get my information through any of the TCG people moving forward. So our infrastructure, our backbone, we're on a 100 gig backbone within it. So what that means to you, we are 41 data centers throughout our country. We are interconnected with each of our data centers on a 100 gig backbone, all right? Not a lot of providers can say that, or not a lot of companies can say that they're interconnected. And I'll use Cyxtera as an example. They purchased CenturyLink, as I'm sure well aware of. They're not interconnected with their data centers, right now. Let's speak today, right? We are already connected, even with the merger with with Peak 10 and Via West, we are interconnected with all of our data centers. So you don't have to worry about jumping over in latency, and we're just interconnected right away. We have 3 million square feet of data center presence in the United States. We have over 4,500 customers in the market right now. Over 1,000 employees, 21 domestic markets. That's critical. I think it's going to go to 22 soon. So we're in every major metropolitan city, which is the big part of edge computing now. So you're getting away from, let's say, companies want to be closer to their data center, or maybe their I would want to say their DR, but it might be a production environment somewhere else because their headquarters is somewhere else outside of their location. We can make that happen for them, right? We're in 13 major hubs as far as cloud. Going back to cloud, I want you guys to remember one thing is we can do cloud. We're in 13 major cloud markets, okay, throughout the country. And I'll show you that. Some of our compliances and solutions, if you look at them, data center, obviously managed services on top, and then cloud services, and then data center and networking with our network 100 gig backbone that we can do. Please, any questions, just throw them out too, by the way, raise your hand. I'll go through these pretty quickly, and we'll get into them a little bit deeper, but these are the levels that hybrid IT solutions that I talked about earlier, where people think, oh, the colo's dying, everything's going to the cloud. Yeah, you're right. Not all of it is staying on-prem. It is going to the cloud a lot. But the propeller heads want to see blinking lights. They do. At the end of the day, they feel warm and fuzzy when they can see a blinking green light and they can press a button and hit reset on it. A lot of the SaaS does go to the SaaS. A lot of you guys talked about SaaS earlier. It does go to SaaS, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But they need to be both a hybrid, on-prem and a cloud solution, okay? Even more for disaster recovery. So that's another area to keep in mind when you talk to them about. Some of our compliances, high trust. We're certified to the bejesus. I mean, it's just crazy amount of certifications we have. And I'll talk to that more about when we get to our certifications that we are certified in. And we can go talk more about that. Network. This is our network. This is our national footprint. It needs to be updated for Florida in particular, and I'll speak to that in a minute. But this is our interconnectability within it. Again, we're connected on a 100 gig backbone throughout the country. Florida in particular, to you guys, we are setting up a new infrastructure with our 3 data centers that we have. So we have presence in Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Jacksonville. Those 3 data centers are going to be interconnected on a 100 gig backbone ring around in the South Florida market. We're going to be connected into the NAP finally, so that what that means to you guys is connectability into South America, the Caribbean, other areas of that marketplace, right? It's a pretty big presence. We're going to be on the Florida Lambda Rail also. So we have that connectability if you are anyone's in education, or I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but that the Lambda Rail's changed that now municipalities can jump on it too. So keep in mind if they need that. Again, our POPs are throughout the country that I mentioned earlier, throughout 13 spots, and we're growing. We just built a new data center in the Atlanta area that I'll speak to shortly, and we're doing an addition to in Charlotte, and then by the end of this year, I think that addition. So, and I'll talk to the new data center in Atlanta. So cloud. Basically what we do is we can do a multi-tenant cloud with a customer if they don't want to go to Azure, AWS, and they want to do something with our environment, and this will be a story that we'll go through it. Basically it's simple, it's cost effective. It's similar to AWS and Azure, guys. It's not that hard, it's not that complex. We can do it. The biggest difference is they know the price they're getting themselves into. A lot of my times customers don't know. They start out with Azure, AWS, starting at $1,500 a month. They thought it's great. It is. It's easy to get on a couple, price points. ask them what they're paying a year down the road. Just ask them what they're doing, and they're stuck in there. They can't get out. Some stuff are in there. They might be able to pull some stuff out. Go ask Azure, say, hey, look, I want to get out. Can you help me out? Yeah, good luck. Good luck pulling your stuff out of there. So it does give the customer that ability to know that in the next year, that $10,000 or $5,000 bill will always be that same bill. And it could be a multi-tenant environment as this, it's high trust. And then also you can do disaster recovery solution leveraging Zerto. We have VMware as OS licensing supporting, and then database including Microsoft and SQL. Okay? Any questions on a multi-tenant environment? Good. Okay, and then the Flex Cloud, the multi-tenant dedicated private cloud, we can also provide that. And we understand, we can provide that a 24/7 dedicated account team, a backup disaster recovery, are simple and easy to do. And one of the questions I'll ask the team here on the floor is, what is your definition about disaster recovery and storage, I want to say? Like, anyone ever said, like, yeah, I got disaster recovery, I got Veeam. I'll use them because they're storage and it's a big name, right? They consider that storage, or is that disaster recovery? Just a question. Do you consider that the same or no?
It's backup.
Correct. Right, but have you ever heard them call that, oh, that's my disaster restore, that's my Veeam, because I get a lot of customers that tell, yeah, I got disaster recovery, I got storage. I'm like, what's your definition of, what's that?
Depends how you implement it.
Correct. Okay, great point. So a lot of times customers won't know. They think they have disaster recovery, but they don't. They might have it for a certain thing, but that's great, but they don't know when they get infiltrated what to do. Okay, great, you had it, but how long ago was it backed up? When was it backed up, right? What were you trying to back up? What were you trying to do? We use Zerto right now in our cloud backup, and I'll talk to it more on how you can leverage that tool. AWS, obviously AWS and Azure, we are friendly with them. We have connectability into their networks, so ExpressRoute, connectability into Megaport. We're going to have Megaport connectability in Tampa coming up soon, so we'll be able to connect into that. And if a customer does want to go that route, that's fine. Get them a colo, some sort of location. We'll connect them there, no big deal. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand, because you made some mentions about Azure and the Azure platform. And
Yep.
the fact that they're kind of stuck in it.
Yeah.
Some I didn't realize. But are you suggesting the Flex Cloud over Azure? Is that what you're saying?
Right, it's a comparable solution, correct. If they want to go to the cloud, if they haven't gone to the cloud yet.
More budgetary.
Correct.
So they're getting all the same platform.
We can build it to suit.
Why are they so handcuffed into Azure? I don't understand what happened.
Once you get, it's the mafia. I mean, once you're in, you don't get out. I mean, you tell me. I mean, you go ask a customer, try to take all their stuff out, and good luck. That's the technology. Every time I speak to a customer about the cloud, and we're just too deep with Azure. It's too much of a pain in the ass to even.
They know it. They're familiar with it. So
Correct.
it's easier for them to jump aboard. But that's scary.
Correct.
You can jump aboard and get back out.
No, go ask and see if Microsoft or anyone will help them, move out. And they get crickets. So and I call it the mafia.
You also wrote you need a solutions architect for that.
Yes.
So if you go with the Flex Cloud, you say that you incorporate support into that?
Say that last part again. I'm sorry.
You have that term. I was reading a portion of this.
Sure.
where I think it said something, hire an architect. Like you need an architect for it. So if you use that Flex Cloud, you're saying that, are you being provided someone to kind of, a portion of that, is that dedicated to the team?
Correct. Yes. So we have 24. Is that what you mean? The 24 dedicated, or where?
Under Azure, it says, the third line says, pay a premium for support.
Oh, correct. That's through Azure. That's theirs. Yeah.
But yours,
Which is provided. Yeah. We provide that. Architects. We have SAs and solutions architect and solutions engineers for you. Yes. And they have a good model. I mean, for small, medium businesses, it could be good. Once you start moving up into the enterprise space, it can get, it can get heavy. Good question. So backup and storage, and this is where I was leading into backup and the storage and disaster recovery. I think there's a big area for you guys to make a lot of money in. I think it's an area that's been untapped because a lot of people think just colo, like what we do is colo. We don't want to, no, I don't want to do colo. But at the end of the day, we do backup and we do storage too, right? I like disaster recovery, and I like to separate the two when I'm in front of my enterprise accounts, because they really think that storage is their backup or disaster recovery, right? And it's not. It's really not. But they put it all into one bucket for some reason. I don't know why, but they just put, oh yeah, we got a box, or we got a server that's our backup and our store, and our recovery. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Does anyone know VDI? Like just the old school VDI, their computers, Citrix environments? If you ask anyone what VDI is, they all have like 6 different answers for it. Oh, this is, I use Citrix. No, I use Microsoft. Same what comes with storage and disaster recovery. Everyone has a definition for it, but they don't want to admit to it when they really how they use their disaster recovery. I like the disaster recovery from Zerto personally. If they're an enterprise account and they necessarily maybe they don't need 5 of their SaaS applications to be recoverable, but there's one that they just can't live without. That's it. This is the one that keeps their business running every day. Zerto licenses is what we provide, is the best of breed. They can literally go, and if they get a ransomware attack and they say, at 9 o'clock, we got hacked and ransomware came into our environment, just now we're under ransomware. You could literally go right to 8:59 and immediately replicate your infrastructure and get back up and running, and you can give the ransomware the middle finger at that day. That's critical to them. And that's where the enterprises want to know. I mean, everything else, maybe some other non-critical parts of their business can go into a storage, but all of it should not go into storage or backup. They should have a disaster recovery plan for their more important critical function of the company. And that license will get them. It replicates instantly. I can't get into the weeds of it because I'm not that technical, but like you. But I can get the propeller heads to get and talk to you, and they'll get excited about it, and they'll talk to you. And if you have a customer, we can do a lunch and learn about it. I'd be happy to sponsor that with a customer, or even if we want to do a WebEx. If they had critical mission applications that just can't go down for whatever reason it might be, we can help them with that. And it's one, and again, it's monthly recurring revenue for you at the end of the day. Any questions about that? I'm curious to see if you any questions about that. Go ahead.
Is there a entry level for a smaller customer?
There's not.
That size, start limit?
No, you can either, there are 2 ways, unfortunately, you can buy a license. A customer can turn around and buy a license directly from Zerto, like just the license and do it on their own. But the cloud version that we're talking about would be something we do. We build out the cloud for them in that respect, yeah. But I'd have to find out for the exactly low number. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. I mean, I have a call with Nate just when we came in. He's like, "Hey, do you do cloud?" And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, really? Like that's what you asked me?" I'm like, "But that's okay, because that's what we, we're not known for that." Go ahead.
You're running Veeam. Do you offer cloud storage for Veeam?
Yeah, we could point to it. Yes, correct. We can point to it. That's all it is. It's all you're doing is pointing your data center stuff to that Veeam. But this is more an integrated disaster recovery. Would be an integrated solution that's timeless. You can go and you can connect it from the front all the way back to the server end of it, and that whole family can be protected on it.
Does it matter if you're running Hyper-V or VMware or?
Hyper-V and VMware, we prefer it, yeah. So we would find out. I have to find out. Depending if it's a private, we might be able to manipulate some of the hypervisor, but we're working on that aspect of it too. But we prefer VMware, yes. Great questions, by the way. So Flexential does cloud and does disaster recovery. Just remember that. Okay, our data center. We'll go back to some of our core, and this is something that's important to you guys because it will reflect the data center, the cloud part. This is our new data center that we just built in Alpharetta, Georgia. Excuse me, in Atlanta, in Alpharetta. It's a new 70,000 square foot facility, brand new. It's going to be it is the flagship of the Southeast right now. It's brand spanking new. We have tons of space. It's a beautiful data center. The one thing that we did get from Via West is how to build a data center, and it's just drop dead gorgeous. If you have any if you wanted to do a tour, and the people want to get out of the South Florida market for whatever reason, and they want to be close, and Atlanta's a good mark, this data center sells itself. I compare it to our Denver and our Lone Star Mountain data center, which is just a gorgeous data center. And then we're building another one in Charlotte. That's the one I mentioned earlier. But this one is 100% uptime on a 100 gig backbone, plus connected into 56 Marietta. So it's going to be the bedrock of the Southeast for us moving forward. And we're one of the few companies out there that are building data centers. I don't think a lot of people are building data centers. I think most data center providers are buying other through M&A, whereas we're building new and adding addition to our data centers and improving them. HIPAA compliancy too. Anyone want HIPAA? Just FYI. Okay, certifications. I think this is an important part of it, and it'll circle back to what we talked about with AWS too. We got more certifications than I know what to do with, and all of our guys are fully certified in this. A good point to know about all of our guys, this is a part of our professional services that have all these certifications, so that you know we obviously provide professional services. We have 60 employees that are based in the United States for Flexential that are W-2'd. Anything you get from us as far as managed services, professional services, or even our cloud solutions being managed by a W-2'd Flexential employee here in the United States. You're not getting anything outside of the country, and they're all certified in these different specialty areas. So keep that in mind. I can't even rattle them off, some of those in there. So AWS is important, obviously. Cisco and some of the big ones. Professional services, obviously we do a ton of professional services also, design, transfer services, security compliances, managed DevOps. We also do that as a part of our offering. We do pen testing. Someone said pen testing earlier. We can do pen testing and we can do cloud assessments. So if your customer wants to go to the cloud, I have a pretty big client right now that we're looking to do a cloud assessment. If the strategy is to go to cloud in the next few years and you want to start doing it now, you do a cloud assessment. I'd be happy to figure out a way to get that waived for you. But we can definitely, if the opportunity is big enough, there's always a way to get it for free. And we can do a pen testing or we can do a cloud assessment for them and then give them the recommendations on how they can get to the cloud. Because a lot of these guys aren't, or they want to do a hybrid, and then we would recommend a hybrid approach for them at that point. Any questions? All right, some of the companies that we have in our name, and this is pretty much the end. These are some of the names that we work with right now as customers, and some of the customers that we just got on board. AutoNation is a customer of ours. If you see the commercial, AutoNation is a customer of ours. Other big companies that you guys might be familiar with now is Mellon Bank of New York, if anyone's in New York. They're a big customer. You talk about compliancy. That was one of the hardest compliances that we ever had to have them approve for all the compliances that New York needed, because New York is New York. But we were able to win that business. It's one of the larger deals that we did, so that we passed all their compliance and regulations that they needed up in the Northeast. One of the other compliances, we actually house one of the 8 banks of the government. So the government has 8 banks that they manage. We actually, Flexential has one of their data centers. I don't know where, because we're not allowed to tell, but one of them is in our data center. I think it's in Dallas, but we house their stuff there. Other big companies such as healthcare, HCA, anyone know HCA here being in South Florida? They're a customer of ours. They house their stuff, some of their stuff in the, is it Tampa? It's Tampa. And then they also go into Nashville also. So we have a lot of customers that will talk to us. Zimmerman, right around the corner right here, Zimmerman that we just drove by, customer of Flexential. So we do have some pretty large customers that just aren't on this. I wanted to use more local customers to you guys. Those are just current customers right now that we have in the marketplace. That's it for me, really. Truly, I just wanted to get you guys in front of you guys and appreciate the time and go from there. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to one of the channel managers here. Any questions? What does Flexential do?
Everything. Cloud.
Thank you. You listened.